Hello and welcome to This is Nigeria, Unlocking Her Potential. This is the program that showcases Nigeria's investment and development opportunities across the 36 states of Nigeria. However, the year 2020 has taken a different dimension. We've moved from the pandemic, coronavirus, to major protests across the cities of Nigeria, and it echoed all around the world. It brought Nigeria global attention. So what are the implications of this protest for our economy, for our political and social life, which invariably also influences our development? And to speak on the topic with me extensively today, in the studio is Josie, Itoya, Splendor, a public affairs analyst. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
And seated next is Ernest, Osogbue, a veteran broadcaster and a public affairs analyst. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
I'm still my humble self, Mayowa Oluwabi. Don't go away, stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Nigeria, Unlocking Her Potential. And on the discuss today is the financial, social, political implications of the protests that happened recently in Nigeria. And my first question goes to you, Ernest Osogbue. Can you give us a little historical background to the nature of protests in Nigeria and what it always achieved?
Well, thank you very much for that. Well, what you have to understand is that there have always been protests in Nigeria. If we really look at it from a political, historical perspective, going back ages, about women riot and all of that, protests, even before the Civil War, after the Civil War, and then to our recent history. We've had protests, the June 12 protests that lasted, they were protracted for so many years, over years, months, and transferring from one government to the other. And then, of course, in recent times, when we talk about our democratic development since 1999, when this current democratic enjoyment we are having came into being, there have been protests as well. I think there were protests against President Olusegun Obasanjo about the OPC or something. I think so. There were protests. Then under President Yaradua, I don't remember having a protest under President Yaradua, but under President Jonathan, there were protests. There was Save Nigeria?
Save Nigeria group.
Yeah, there was a Save Nigeria group that said Occupy Nigeria. That's right. Occupy. It was Occupy Nigeria, where our current president, incidentally, was heavily involved alongside Pastor Tunde Bakare. Yes. I remember musicians, and that protest was good. And the APC leader currently, and it was a well publicized.
I think it was focused on the fuel subsidy regime.
Yes, I think so. I think it happened around the beginning of a particular year. There was this protest. I remember seeing our current president holding hands with people and protesting. And people were saying that the current government now said it was not a protest because they were having enjoyment, they were having a carnival and all of that you couldn't have called that a protest, that it was organized by the opposition just to blackball the then government at that time. And then on to today, there's something different about this current protest, because what we have here is that it is not about ideology. It was not about politics, say one political group mobilizing people. It was not about market women mobilizing people. It was an uprising, or I don't know, the anger of the youth of Nigeria, who had been at the butt of police brutality, especially because of there's a crime in Nigeria called Yahoo, and it was believed that any young man who is looking fine, doing well, driving a car,
has a laptop.
Yes, you have a laptop, you have a smartphone. It is seen as if that is an easy way to get into Yahoo. And so these guys were the ones targeted mostly by the anti-robbery squad as potential suspects in cases, and in the process of that, so many of them died in the process of investigation. And the youth rose with one voice to condemn that and ask for the end to SARS. And that is why we are here. And we are looking at this current government to their reaction. But let me leave that. Let me leave that to
Josie Itoya.
Yes.
Can you give us your own perspective on this Endsars protests?
It's just It's just that the SARS has been the prominent ones in actually inflicting most of the injury this administration represents. You know, so much, like you rightly said, it became a crime for a young man who has no job, who is trying to fend for himself and his family, to actually succeed. You know, the minute you're driving a good car, you're young, you have your laptop, you have your iPhone, you automatically call it suspect. It got so bad that these SARS officers go about with their POS.
Wow.
Yes, and they escort you to ATM.
That's transaction.
Are you kidding me? And the minute you are in their train, there was this particular guy, I was going past the one in Abuja. I was like, which new market is here? Somebody said, which market? That is SARS office. I was like, really? Basically, got to a point, I'm sure the departments in the security were beginning to be like, what is it about SARS? And then you go on the road, the man just pulls up with his black clothing and no uniform, no identity, and he's telling you he's working for the government. And you then don't have the right to say, can I see your ID card? You know, the SARS thing, I think, is a reflection of the system we are in today. And it just got to a head that people now have to just, you know what, enough is enough. So I think when Nigerians say Endsars, they are trying to say the system must be reformed. The political system, because, come on, look at it. If we can get the security system like the police right, you'll get your democracy right. All the bribery, the oppression, you know, inside this post-COVID-19 economic meltdown, someone will still come and collect as much as 100,000, 1 million from your hand that they saw something on your phone. I mean, there have been instances of even celebrities. Genevieve had to give an instance of her niece whose laptop was taken. And by the time they even finished sorting the whole thing, they had to pay a lot of money. Then somebody said, they'll collect your phone and tell you, oh yeah, open your bank account. And the man said, how can I bring my phone and then show you my bank, what do you call it, my bank balance?
It was that bad.
It was that bad. It was that bad. We've seen photos of some of them dressed as occultic men. I mean, it's really terrible. It didn't depict what a democratic and a sane society. And still, there's been no arrest. Okay, now, Endsars has started with Sega Links for a long time. 2016, you ended SARS. Around 2017 or 2018, you renamed it. But the operation had remained the same.
What was it renamed?
It became FSARS, Federal. You know, they told us times and time again. Okay, they kept tweaking it. And
tweaking the name.
So for 4 solid years, the operations had remained nothing. You tweak here, it remains SARS. And then now we're not saying that we don't want audio promises anymore.
Okay.
That was the reason why even after the IG came to say it's been disbanded, the protest went on, because we've had that before. And that's the problem with a government that does not stick with our promises. The president even came and gave a statement. We didn't want to see audio promises. We wanted to see people being persecuted. I mean, people being tried and punished for the evil. You weren't punishing any officers. You weren't bringing people to justice here saying you're setting up judiciary panel and all of that. It's still the same audio promises. So now Nigerians are pressing to say, this actualize your promise. We want things done properly and want it done now.
All right, let me put you on pause. And as they had a 5 points demand.
That's correct.
What is your take on the government's reaction to those 5 point demand?
Well, if you look at the government's reaction to the 5 point demands, I think you end up mistaking it and giving the government kudos. So we need to give government kudos on the 5 point demand, the 5 points demand by the Endsars protesters, because the government responded to it. Yeah. For instance, you see, dissolve SARS, they were dissolved. Look at the police remunerations, because it's like the policemen are oppressed, and as a result of that, they come and oppress members of the public because they live with the public almost all the time. Mm-hmm. And several other promises that were made, demands rather, that were made by the Endsars protesters. But what you have to understand,
there was a judicial inquiry.
That's right, to punish those and then to release those who were in detention and all of that. Yeah. But the point is this: you have to understand that the Endsars, like she said, it was a metaphor for ending the poor governance system that we have been under over years. When you look at it, because this thing evolved, then there was an anger against SARS, and it was realized along the way that look, this SARS operates under a government. Along the way, you got the creative children, they changed it. The SARS means senators and representatives' salaries. Mm-hmm. So that means that it was beyond just ending the brutality and police brutality and the operation of SARS. It had to do with other government. They are looking at 60 years of independence. We just celebrated independence a few days before the protests erupted. And people look at, I had footage of children drinking muddy water, of people driving on roads that were like, you were climbing a rock. We had Nigerians who were using motorbikes to climb hills and things like that. And all these things did not
So those were like variations of SARS.
That is correct. These are the variations of SARS that the people saw. And then the most important one is this. You had people whose future are already behind them. Their futures are already behind them. And then you have people who their future is in front. And you have people who their future is already behind them, driving the car, taking people to the future. And the children were asking, why? How can people, septuagenarians, octogenarians, Nigeria has the youngest population in the whole world, according to the UNDP.
All right.
And here you have young persons being suppressed and older people are leading Nigeria. And so the children are saying, let's change this. How can a senator be earning 30 million naira a month and we have millions of jobless youths, graduates roaming the streets? We need to readjust that. And I think those are what gave flame to the Endsars protests that led them to get to where they got to.
All right, we'll go on a short break. This is Nigeria. We'll continue. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Nigeria, unlocking her potential. And today we've been unlocking the Endsars protest that swept across Nigeria and reverberated across the world. So, let me come to you, Josie.
Oh.
Nigeria has been seen as the poverty capital of the world.
Sadly so.
Sadly, but it's our reality.
That's true.
But the cost of governance, the political class takes the cake. We have the highest paid lawmakers in Nigeria. The executive, the judiciary, they're all bundled into the greater part of our budget. Yet the people that carry guns, they have responsibility as security operatives to protect us. They are given pittance. And the request for Endsars, I think that's one of the demand was for the welfare of the police to be looked into, because some say it's a remote cause of the brutality. What is your take on that, and what's the way forward?
Like I said, the cost of governance in Nigeria is high because of the kind of government we have chosen, which I still think is not working. As I speak with you, even the money we're talking about, for the past how many months, we've been borrowing money to pay salaries. Nobody is even asking if the country is even making money.
And our debt profile is right.
That is what I'm saying. When a country begins to borrow to run itself, that's a greater problem coming. So I think the hour has come for us to check everything. One, why is it that our economic outlets or inlets are not functioning? You talk about corruption. One man has too much. Because you see, the concept of having the poor, being the poorest capital in the world is complex in itself. In Nigeria, you have the richest man, called Dangote. In the same country, you have the poorest man. So that means day by day, we are weakening the middle class. Now, let me talk about how we even got to this point. There was a time when I was growing up, I knew that you had cities you could go to. You had Bauchi running, you had Jos running, you had Kano running. You had a lot of cities in Nigeria running. But for obvious reasons, for about 20 years now, Nigeria has been waging war against itself. We've not fought any war externally. We've been fighting wars, Nigerians against Nigerians. Boko Haram against the people. The militants against and we spent money on this. And then cities have depleted in their economic value, giving rise to what we now have a high percentage of unemployment. And then people say, okay, when you ask the politicians, how come you have this money? You tell you, do you know how many people in our constituency we have to feed? Do you know how many persons come to our houses every day? I need to feed, I need to pay school fees. In fact, it's gotten to a point that even the populace don't approach their politicians asking for good roads or good markets. They are all calling for their personal needs. Now, we've all been seeing this poverty evolve and evolve and evolve. So that's why I said it climaxed with this anti-SARS, Endsars protest. It's beyond the policeman on the street. It's beyond the hostility. The people are just fed up. This has been a year where we have seen 2 P's, pandemic, protest. We pray we'll see the 2 other P's, peace and prosperity.
So Ernest, what's your take on, what's your assessment of this protest? Has it achieved its aim? Is it a work in progress? What should be their next step?
I think I've been on forums and platforms where people are looking at saying that will this protest achieve any results? I think those people are looking at it on the short term. One thing people don't understand is that things don't work on the short term. This thing has been registered that the young population we have in Nigeria, they are not ready to sit back anymore and just accept anything from the political class. They are asking a question. They've proven, 1, that they are accountable, 2, that they can mobilize themselves, and 3, they are versatile with electronic mobilization. And if they put that into practice between now and the 2023 elections, then definitely, since we have the youngest population in the world, and if they band together, if they don't allow the old politicians to break them up with ethnicity and religion and regionalism and all of that, if they are able to band together, I can tell you, Maiwa, that we will see a revolution in the 2023 election when the young ones will retire all these expired politicians and we have a new Nigeria.
Josie, what should we expect?
Every protest that has brought change has been one guided by vision, sometimes a single vision, like the spring protest, the Arab Spring protest. What I want the Endsars is to move to the next phase, which is strategy. Now we've been able to see that this Endsars has revealed 3 main actors. The robust middle class who wants change, whom people have always called the Twitter generation that don't vote. The robust middle class. Then you have the downtrodden, or let me say the lower class, who are always enmeshed in immediate needs. Now you could see that a protest that has been managed by a set of people is suddenly degenerating to a set of persons who now are looting. I won't even say stealing, because a lot of them are saying they are getting back what the government held from them. But it was this class of people that the unscrupulous politicians used to destroy or almost destroy the protest. Yes, because in Abuja, for instance, they actually brought most of these boys to infiltrate the genuine protest, and it became violent just because they wanted to discredit it. Now, one thing the ruling class forgets is that they all started as youths. Even the president himself, as I tell him, became a president, he was virtually a youth. The same goes for everyone is in the IBB. These men have been since inception. Is it Theophilus Danjuma? The same mentor. They started as youths. So if they started a revolution as youths and they are now old and still we've not seen that required change, it means there's something the today youths need to imbibe or to study so we can cut and chart a different course. So what I'm trying to say is that it's time to step to number 2. We should understand that there will be backlashes. We can see that on the internet now they are trying to discredit a lot of the claims. Now, of course, these are errats of politicians who are trying to discredit the system. Some of them have been tying the narratives to the bias that have held us down for the last 60 years, religious affiliation, ethnic background, whatever. If we must have the new Nigeria we're looking for, we must rise up above this.
I want to bring you to the looting that has been going on by the hoodlums. They hijacked it. But the upset came when there was some alleged shooting at Lekki toll gate of protesters who were not armed.
It is wrong, that, like the whole world has condemned it, absolutely wrong, to shoot at protesters who are protesting peacefully within their rights, demanding that a government we put in place is not doing something correct, and we want the government to do that thing correct. It is a universal right. And so it was very right for Nigerians to be protesting, and very wrong for the authorities. We are still looking at that today. Nobody has come out to own up as to who gave the orders to fire, whether directly or indirectly, at protesters.
So what's your take on the Lekki toll gate shootings? The narrative out there now is like something has been photoshopped, it was doctored, it didn't happen.
I don't think people should be surprised at what the government is saying. I mean, 2010-20 will forever remain indelibly in the hearts of Nigerians. Now, if you say a It's all hoax. To what end? Who is benefiting from this that will take time to go and create photo shoots of youths dying? We saw a live Instagram video by DJ Switch on what was happening live. We've had several persons come to say they were fired at. Even Arise went to the street and a lot of them were recounting their experience that night. To what end? Why would anybody go as far as setting that kind of narrative? What do they have to gain? But on the other hand, we know that government was really losing a lot because of the pillaging of the Lekki whatever. Who switched off the lights? Is it the same protesters you're saying turned off the lights and the cameras? These are indices you know that the government is actually not being truthful. We don't want to apologize. Yeah. Are they saying it's a terrorist attack? Where is it coming from? To what end? Even when you say terrorist attack, they always have purposes, the reason why they want to attack. They've not even laid claim. So you ask, who would have spent so much? Were they shooting knockouts? Yes, they were gunshots. For the governor to admit that they are casualties, are you telling me you controlled the shots? That they were only just injured? What are we talking about? You're not talking to fools. And then again, you have not even condoned the area to do your investigation, so the place has been compromised. We're talking about things that happened. The lights were suddenly out, the cameras were turned off. Who did all of this? Are you telling me there's a fourth, what do you call it? Fourth columnist. So what are you saying? Who has better interest in the Lekki toll gate, if not the people who are actually scared that they've been losing a lot of money? So when you check these parameters and indices, you would understand that there was, and that's the mistake, because what we are having today is an offshoot of October 20, that is 2010-20.
Ernest, the impact was high on Lagos State. The vandalization, the burning effort. Major buildings were burnt down in Lagos. What's your take on that, and what's the implications for Lagos State government?
This is, the implications for Lagos State government, if you put it like that, look, this is huge on the negative indices, without a doubt, because you need so much money to rehabilitate and replace most of those infrastructure that have been destroyed, the BRT buses, the LPA building and all of that, and the private houses. And then I can't imagine people going to attack the Oba's Palace, Igaidungoro, in Lagos Island. I don't know how that happened. So, but coming back to the fact of those who were actually involved in that, you must understand at all times that there are always those who are enemies of state. Despite their being Nigerians, they are enemies of state. They don't are enemies, and they could also be enemies of the present government. They don't want them to succeed, because Endsars protesters, they don't want to bring the government down. No. They're only making their voices heard on certain issues they wanted put right. But along the way, I think government did not react early enough. They responded to the 5 demands, but in terms of addressing the youths, this emotional appeal to the conscience of the people, to take it easy, we're looking into your matter, we'll come, like government acting as this a benevolent big brother or father and all of that. We never saw it, and even till today we've not seen it. So I think that made...
Even with the president's broadcast?
Well, I don't know the president's broadcast. I don't want you to draw me into that for now, but you see that emotional appeal to the conscience of the citizens who were angry over a certain issue was never there. And so in that lacuna or vacuum, as some people would call it, these negative forces put themselves inside and took advantage of that to cause mayhem. I saw footage of people running home with police rifles. I can't imagine a citizen of Nigeria going into a police station to set it on fire, picking up rifles and running home with it. Now, we know that in places there is a way you can do a forensic investigation when things calm down. There is footage. Some people were stealing and even videoing themselves. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. So government can use those footage to search and arrest these people and track them when these things calm down. But it is actually unfortunate that it degenerated to that level. And of course, we must always be vigilant, even when we want to protest, to be vigilant to ensure that negative forces do not take advantage of our protest to cause mayhem. Because when we destroy our future, what is that thing we are now looking forward to inherit when we take over the driver's seat of our destiny?
All right, let me take your final statement. Just what's your final take?
Going forward, I think the government should learn to deploy better tactics to dealing with youth and protest. Because I want to believe that the government has the largest of resources. They have the best minds at their pick and call. They have the financial resources. They have the intelligentsia and all of that. I think they should take a cue from Western world on how they actually handle the process. We had the BLM, Black Lives Matter process, and it came to a useful conclusion. Today we have everybody, before any sport activity takes place, people take the knee. They take the knee. Because, yes, the truth is people don't sit and just, to gather the people to reconcile themselves enough to move. It takes a lot of protest. It takes a lot of process. So the government should learn. Because Endsars protest, if you look at it on longer, it's actually on the side of government because we want to help this administration or whoever is in government to rule better. They are what you call alternate voices in politics. You can't keep having just one set of voice. No. Don't always see an alternate voice as an opposing voice. Even opposing voices are also in sync. If you look at the structure of life, you have a man and a woman coming together, opposite in nature, but giving birth to a child. So for you to actually have the positives of life, you must bring the positive and the negative together. So you always need the position and the opposition to now bring out something meaningful.
All right, thank you very much. Ernest Osogbue, thank you for your submission.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Josie, Itoya, Splendor, thank you for coming on to the program.
Thank you.
And we've been talking Endsars protest in Nigeria. What has it achieved? What has been the objective? And how has government reacted to it? Thank you for watching. My name is Mayowa Luabi.